Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Herd Fit Podcast with Dr. Sam Marie and myself, Coach David Syvertson. This podcast is aimed at helping anyone and everyone looking to enhance their healthy lifestyle through fitness, nutrition, and most importantly, mindset. All right, welcome back to the Herd Fit Podcast. I am Coach David Syvertson. I'm here with probably our most frequent guest, but I get to introduce him with a different title in a different manner this time. I am introducing and joined by Coach Dan Cota, who I should say intern Dan Cota, but I'm trying to lift you up and make you feel good about yourself. But Dan, you are now a part of the CrossFit Bison staff, and we have a staff dinner next week, and you're going to be there. And to me, you're a part of our team. If you're a part of the coaches chat group, which is a very exclusive, be careful what you say group. That means to me, you're on the staff. But Dan, welcome to the staff. Welcome back to the podcast. How we doing, bub?
Oh, good. I appreciate being back here. And honestly, when I got that first invite to the chat, I was very excited. I felt like part of the family.
Yeah, that's when you know you're in. That's when you know you're in. But Dan, I mean, I want to kind of dive right into what's going on here, because we just recently did an episode with Keith and Tara, our two most recent additions to the coaching staff. And we talked to them after their internship and really as they got into coaching on a routine. Tara, Tuesdays with Tara, middays, and Keith is the Friday morning coach. And Dan, you're going to be joining our staff as the Thursday morning coach, Sam's current shift. And he's going to be he's going to give him flexibility to help us out in different coaching lights with both Outlast and Bison. So for those that love having Sam around as a coach, he's still going to be coaching very much at Bison on Saturdays. And he's going to be able to have a little bit more flexibility to coach different times of the day, which is something that we need at some point down the road. And we're also going to be able to get him in front of the Outlast crew. So that Thursday morning shift is going to be yours. And I want to talk about some of the background from both of our perspectives. And I think it's more interesting to hear your perspective first. You've shared your CrossFit start story a few times. You could probably dive into that a little bit, but this is the second time that we've talked about you coaching, and a lot of things need to line up for this to happen. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later, but what is kind of like your perspective? What are you thinking right now of, hey, I'm a coach now. I'm interning. I'm going through the grind of showing up to the gym at 4:45 on a Thursday morning. I'm there for over 3 to 4 hours. Where's your head at right now that you've done 2 weeks of interning?
Yeah, it's I saw it as a big responsibility to be, part of the business, part of a morning, the first person to open the gym. That's someone that you can't miss, that you can't be late. So there was a little bit of like nervousness, a little pressure on like making sure I get up. I have 3 extra alarms set on my phone just in case. I don't need them, but they're there in case.
Yeah.
It's been, I'll say, a little bit overwhelming at first to try to, to realize how much a coach is actually doing that you don't really think about, which I'm sure we'll go into. Yep. There's a lot of excitement after my first day, which I was just shadowing. I came home and I was like, I felt like the high of like the whole experience of like, oh man, I'm, going to be able to help and talk to so many people around this thing that I love. So there's a lot of mixed emotions, but overall very positive.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I think one thing that you'll see in time, you probably have been exposed to it with the 3 alarms. I hear every morning coach just nodding their head to that. Like going to bed the night before you're the morning coach, to this day, I've been doing this for so long, is still, there's a level of stress and pressure there. And I have 7 alarms on my phone. And my body has started to naturally wake up at that time regardless. So even when I'm not coaching, there's sometimes I look up at the clock and I still see it's like 4 o'clock. It's natural. But from our perspective, right, we look at this, we talk about coaches, we talk about the future all the time at Bison. We always have, not because we necessarily always need coaches, but you always know that you don't ever want to get to a point where you have to hire someone. That's something that we feel very strongly about. So because that it's like buying a house, right? Like Ash and I have been pretty open about the fact that we've been looking for a year and a half. We don't need a house, but every now and then you always kind of keep your finger on the pulse of the market that if something comes up, you're ready to strike. And same thing, we talk about people that could be good coaches, and we can get into that a little bit, but it was more, hey, when the time is right, if this match is made, we go for it. And the questions that we ask ourselves, Coach Liz is the head coach at Bison, and the owners, we have a lot of conversations about this, weeks, months leading up to you even having a conversation with anyone. And the questions that we ask is, why would that person want to coach, right? You can love CrossFit and never want to coach. I think that's most people. You can love CrossFit and never want to coach, and that doesn't make you a bad person at all. Does that person want to? Do we feel that is a good fit for our staff? And then can they even coach? Because there is a time commitment, and that's one thing I think you haven't been fully exposed to yet, that this is now a job. It's not a, oh, cool, I can do this when I want. There are requirements, schedule requirements, call out requirements, literally vacation requirements. And we kind of get into that as we go. Where do you draw the line? Because there's going to be people in your shoes at some point listening to this, right? Where do you weigh that part of it into your decision to join the staff, in that, hey, Bison is no longer just my safe haven to go train at. It's now a place where I have to do work.
Yeah. So we originally talked probably like 2 years ago, maybe, about coaching. You came up to me and asked if like something I'd want to do. At the time, I didn't think it was right for me. My kids were just a little bit younger. They were 8 and 10 at that time, and my 8-year-old still needed a little extra help, I think, just like in the mornings and just throughout the day, and just making sure I was kind of on top of her. And so between that and between my goals for CrossFit and my own journey were still kind of like very high priority. And it felt like I was not going to be able to give, what I needed to give to help other people in coaching, and making that, like you're saying, the responsibility of every Thursday morning, that is what I'm doing, regardless of how I feel. If I, that could get, we had a conversation of that, that could get in the way of my Friday morning training might, be, affected by that. And
absolutely. Yep.
So at that time I wasn't ready. This time, Liz came up to me and she was like, hey, what do you think? You're here at Open Gym anyway. Maybe you want to be an Open Gym coach. I was like, oh, maybe I could do that. I am here anyway. And then it started, escalating to, well, Sam's, he wants to give up his Thursday mornings. Maybe you can take that. And I started thinking, it was like, oh yeah, now my girls are 10 and 12. They really are much more self-sufficient, and we're trying to give them more responsibility. Nice. So that's one thing that's off my plate. It just felt like I was ready. There was something inside me that was just like, yeah, I think this is time for you to do it. I've always wanted to do it. I like, on my free time and, after class, if someone's coming up to me and asking me a question, I'm always happy to share. I was always hesitant because I'm not a coach. I wasn't a coach at that point. But I always enjoy that experience. So that's kind of like all these things kind of started clicking now.
Yeah. And it's timing is everything. And I remember talking to you about the first time we approached you and it not being something that really feasibly could work for you. I remember saying thank you for the sheer honesty of it, because I've had this same exact discussion with people that want extra programming via Next Level since 2017. Almost to the point where I've had someone say, it sounds like you're trying to talk me out of this. where no, I am not trying to talk you out of this, but I truly want to know the why behind it. And all right, you could have the best, most dramatic, sexiest answer in the world. Can you actually create the time? Is it the right time in your life? And you and Michelle, you both work. You had 2 girls. You're great parents. You train, I would say, as much as most people in our gym. So it's a huge priority to you. And you're very regimented. Like, you essentially have the same workout schedule every day, every week, all year long. And that's something that I remember telling you, like, I don't want this to be something that takes something away from you. I've proven, and a lot of good coaches have proven over the years, you can absolutely still train to the highest level you can train at while coaching. You just have to make some adjustments. And to me, that is a big part of being a CrossFit competitor, especially a masters CrossFit competitor. You have to be flexible. And I really did appreciate the first time you said like, hey, I want to, but it's not right for me. And I wouldn't be able to provide everything that you guys and the community needs. It's not just a business decision here. It's what can you actually provide our members. And I really did appreciate that. I don't know if I ever told you that, but that was probably not easy for you. And I think even a month later, you're like, man, I really wish, like, yeah, I'm starting to wonder what it would have been like. And I think it was right around the open time. And I said, hey, the door's not closed. It was just not the right time.
Yeah.
So tell me this, and I want people to hear this. Why do you want to coach? What's the point? I mean, you're not getting rich. I don't know if Liz told you that. Don't go buy a Beamer now. But why do you want to coach?
Yeah, no, it's definitely not about money. I mean, I've been doing this now for, I think, 16 years, which is incredible to say. It's something that I've fallen in love with early on, with the methodology of CrossFit, what it, the deepest part of what CrossFit is, not only the sports side of it. And I've had to learn everything in kind of like it took me a long journey to learn everything I've gotten to at this point. Nothing seemed easy to me. I remember in my very first CrossFit, class I was dropping into as a free class, I saw one of the coaches doing butterfly pull-ups, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And it took me a year after starting CrossFit to be able to even do like one or two of those.
You started on bands, right?
Yeah. Started with
I want everyone to know that you started. I just did a beginner session with someone last week, and I was like, hey, most of these people doing pull-ups could not do them when they started. And you don't believe it, but it is the case. It's a fact. Dan Coda, one of the best gymnasts in Bison, could not do pull-ups for a while.
Yeah. It was very difficult. I remember my first snatch at 75 pounds and be like, oh, wow, that's what it's supposed to feel like. So cool. And I'm just excited. Like I've had so many great coaches along the way teach me so much. So like, I'm just excited to share what I've learned through coaches, through podcasts I've listened to, through all that information and my own experience of like just helping people get to their own fitness goals, whatever that is.
Yeah. And that's a great answer. It's an answer you hear a lot. It's like, so much, you've learned so much from so many different sources that I think that's one of the fine arts of coaching, especially if you've done this for a long time, you've been around, you've done different training programs, belong to different gyms, is that you'll take a little piece of something from everything and everyone. And if you're mindful enough and willing, you can kind of put that into this ability to share it with everyone and anyone in so many different ways. And I think that's why coaching to me is so much better now than it was even 8 years ago, is that we're constantly consuming information and coaching ourselves. And to this day, I know if I take a class of yours, if I take a class of anyone on our staff, I'll take something from them and I'll apply it to my coaching. You ever hear a coach say, hey, the other day, Coach Kayla taught us this warm-up for my hips, and it felt it just raises everyone in the room. And you have to be mindful. You have to kind of like put some serious thought into that. But that's why, one of the reasons why I'm really confident in your ability to coach, because you really are a seasoned, not just competitive athlete, you're just a seasoned CrossFitter. And you've seen it come such a long way. I mean, think about how long it's come, how far it's come since you started. To you, what are some of the inspirations you've had? Is there anything in particular that you've had, and it could be anything in regard to coaching, that has inspired you from the consumer side that you want to give to others?
Yeah. So I was at CrossFit 908 at their Garden State Open years ago. I was doing scaled. I was just trying to figure it all out. And I remember getting on the bar doing toes to bar, and I could barely string one or two together. And Ryan Bailey, who was a coach at CrossFit Hoboken, right next to me, like cheering me on, and he goes, "Put your head through, and then look up at the ceiling." And I started doing that, and all of a sudden, I was getting like 5, 6, 7 toes to bar. Yeah, it was like such a cool experience to be like, "Whoa, got it. You just helped me figure that
Yep.
out just by telling me this one thing.
Yep.
And now toes to bar is like one of my strongest things ever. And I still think about him telling me head through,
look up,
look up.
through, look up.
Yeah. And I'm like,
Nice.
oh, cool. So big thank you to Ryan Bailey's. But I think he's in Chicago. And I don't know if he's still CrossFitting or not. But yeah. So like that was like a moment that was like, oh, that's so cool that he was able to do that.
What about, you said you're an avid podcast listener. You'll send me some stuff about the CrossFit sports season sometimes. And is there anything from the games athletes or games level coaches that you have taken, because you've been a part of a lot of training programs, whether it's negative splits, whether it's, what you focus on when you're lifting, when you're tired. What inspirations have you taken from that bigger level of coaching that is very sports centric, but applies to anyone that does CrossFit, period? Because we're going to start talking about that at some point in this episode, is blending the two. Is there anyone or any inspiration that you've really taken from there and applied to yourself that you want to apply to coaching?
Yeah, I can't think of specifically who I got this info. I think it's a general thing for most like high level coaches and it applies to everybody, is movement quality. It's always been the better quality of movement you have, the better that rep is going to feel, the more volume you'll be able to put in. It's all, that's going to help you excel in the sport. And that's just something that I think I've, really worked into my own programming, like in my head as I'm doing things. I'm like, am I moving correctly? Am I moving right? Am I doing this the best way possible? And that's something that for every single one, whether you're trying to excel in the sport or you're just trying to be, as fit as you can be, if you're moving well, you're going to be healthier on every level.
Yeah. And just more efficient. You'll be able to achieve more power. But I think, especially for the people that don't compete, it's all about just being healthy, not getting hurt, being able to come back tomorrow. And that movement quality, we know it gets old hearing after over and over how many coaches talk about your elbows and your midline and staying hollow, all this stuff, right? It's really aiming at keeping people healthy. When you move well, your odds of getting hurt are so much less. But if you don't move well, even something subtle, it could be on a rower, it could be on a bike, it could be on a 95-pound deadlift. If it's incorrect, eventually something goes. And that's a really good piece of advice there. Now, from your athlete side, what makes a good coach? Like you've had coaches, I'm sure, over the years, and you're too nice to say, oh yeah, that person's a bad coach. But I'm sure you can tell the difference between a good coach and a bad coach. And this is very subjective. Some people would literally answer this question as like, what's the song, bro? Like, what's the playlist? Like that makes a good coach to some. But to you, Dan Coda, what makes a good coach?
I think someone who's passionate about the methodology is number one. Someone who just has a lot of knowledge around that methodology and that can see you move and give you a cue or help you understand in your head how to change that. So that's something that I don't think I can do right now, but I'm hoping that over time is like a goal of mine to be able to look at somebody and say, oh, you're doing this, but if you were to just change this slight thing that, it's probably going to feel better. And then them understanding it. And if they don't understand that, maybe a slightly different cue to help them, do that.
Yeah. I mean, so some beginning coach advice in that I think a good skill that every good coach has, and it develops in time, is the ability to say the same exact thing to 5 different people, 5 different ways. And, there's a lot of different ways to teach someone how to string together toes to bar. For example, Ryan Bailey was eyes forward, look up, and that worked for you. Some people, I think a coach that taught me how to do it was, hey, at the end of your rep, kick the ground as hard as you can straight down and then kick them back up. And if you get that second rep, that gets the rhythm. So can a coach really teach something 5 different ways? Because not everyone responds to how you coach it initially. And I think that's a huge sign of a good coach, is that you can say the same thing 5 different ways to 5 different people. Now, put your coach hat on, and this could be applied to kids. Your girls are very active. You've seen coaches and athletes. You've been around athletes. You've been an athlete yourself. What makes a coachable athlete?
Oh, yeah.
from that perspective, like if you're trying to send a message right now to the people that you're going to be coaching, what helps you help them?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, being coachable means that you want to learn, you want to get better. You don't, it's basically checking your ego at the door, and knowing that you don't know, you don't know everything, and that we're all in there to get better. And that, just even if you're good at something, taking some advice and saying, oh, okay, like, let me try that. If like, oh, he's saying, jump more and, in the clean or whatever it is, to be able to take that, try it. If it doesn't work for you, that's okay too. But never saying, no, I'm not going to do that, because that's what I've learned actually in my own career. And, and when somebody asks me like, can we try this out? And like at video editing, I'm like, oh yeah, let's try it. Like, I've learned that if you just say no, even if it's not the right thing, at least if you try, you'll get a better experience on your end as an athlete. Let me see if this, cue that he's telling me works or not.
I like that. So as an athlete, just don't say no. Even if you don't think it's going to help you, don't say no. And that kind of parlays that into a thought. I've been thinking a lot about this as a coach. We have a coach's dinner coming up. It's not going to be a meeting, but I'm sure the conversations will eventually go that way. And I always want athletes, and I'm working on some stuff from the athlete perspective that coaches should know, and then something from the coach's perspective that athletes should know, then vice versa, what athletes should know about the coach's perspective. And to me, being a coachable athlete is trying to look for answers in areas you might not normally look for. All right. Example, we hear this a lot, and you're a very capable athlete. There's not much you can't do in the gym. And I'll be honest with you, like, swear to God, that had nothing to do with any sort of decision of you being a coach. And I know there's always that thought, especially now Bobby's on the staff. That's like, the best athletes are the coaches. Like, we've never really, I'll speak for myself. I've never cared how good or how bad an athlete is. And one thing that has bothered me that I've heard athletes say is that coach can't do that. They can't teach me. They can't teach me it. Right? Muscle up is a prime example. Not all of our coaches can walk into the gym and start doing ring muscle ups tomorrow, like snap of a finger. But I guarantee they can help you get one. I guarantee they can give you a couple little cues. I guarantee there's something they can provide that athlete of value. And that's an extreme case of muscle up. Another one could just be a simple squat. Olympic lifting, right? A lot of Olympic lifting athletes want Coach Brian or Bobby. But you know what? I've gotten some of my best advice from Adam Ramsden on Olympic lifting. And he can Olympic lift, and he tries hard, he works hard, but he's not going to go snatch 300 pounds tomorrow. But it's irrelevant. And I hope athletes can understand that to make you a really coachable, for you to really be coachable and take in as much help as we are willing to provide, you have to kind of shut off any sort of bias and look for answers that are right in front of you. And usually that's where a lot of help can be provided. Now, one of my most interesting topics that I'm most interested in, you and I have a lot of good discussions at the gym about this over the years. Dan and I are obviously very much into the sport. We're in the same age group this year for 1 year. All right. Happy birthday, Dan. Dan just turned 44. But the sport versus fitness regimen and the lifestyles that kind of feed into those, right? Sport is, in our opinions, it's more than you working out really hard. There's decisions you have to make outside the gym, 24/7, almost 365. All right. You kind of give yourself some time here and there, but the fitness regimen is probably not as strict, but I think a lot of those two areas can learn a lot from each other. And that's why we like to have the competitors and people that don't compete doing the same stuff as often as we can. Can you touch on what your opinions are, unfiltered, of CrossFit the sport versus CrossFit the fitness regimen?
Yeah, I mean, CrossFit the sport, it's competitive. It's a sport. It's something that you're trying to achieve your highest level as an athlete. There are dangers that come with that, as far as like you're pushing the envelope constantly. So you try to be as safe as possible. And like I was saying before, move as well as possible. But there's also a time when, you're on the competition floor and you're going to go for, the heaviest snatch you've ever tried before, and it's a scary thing. It's something that, you don't know the results to. For the, fitness side, it doesn't matter if you ever snatch 200 pounds or, for a guy or, whatever, but you do want to push yourself. Like you're in there. The methodology, I keep saying that, but CrossFit is about pushing yourself. It's about, whether it's a 2-minute workout, a 10-minute workout, 30-minute workout, you're going to push yourself that day to the most of your capacity as just doing your own fitness, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you have to be, the first person to finish in class. But if you're next to somebody who is an equal fitness level than you, and you're both pushing each other to be your best, that's going to help you ultimately be healthier down the line. But if you're doing it for fitness, you're also not trying to push the envelope either, right? You're not trying to get, the heavier barbell. You're going to scale it appropriately. But you're still going to get a great workout because you're pushing yourself. That's like the competitive part of every class is, part of what I've loved from the beginning of being a competitive person. So you can take that part of the sport and put it into your class, into your everyday fitness. And then if you're the type of person that's like, oh, this is really cool, and it sparks something inside of you, well, now you have a new outlet to go and compete and to try to do it.
Yeah. And it's like, I think everyone is an economist as you get older. Like you're trying to bang out as many birds with the fewest amount of stones possible. And it's like, hey, this fills my competitive fix. This gives me my hour to myself. This helps me mentally feel better the rest of the day. And I get to go compete. It's like all these things at once. That's why I think a lot of us on the master side at Bison and CrossFit in general, we're seeing the growth of master sport, which is really cool to see and be a part of. That it all feeds into each other. And if there's one way to wrap up this whole sport versus fitness debate within CrossFit, that's one thing I wish everyone would truly see, is that they feed into each other. I think the sport is better because of the fitness regimen, and I think the fitness regimen is better because of the sport. And they don't need to be separate. I've never agreed. At the highest level, sure. But I'll tell you what, it's still really cool to watch the highest level do what we do somewhat, and I really do think it's something that I hope the new leadership in CrossFit, whoever it is, really dives into that and leans into it. Now, with that, this can kind of lead me into lifestyle, right? Right now, Dan takes, 9 minutes to write names on a whiteboard, and he's planning out warm-ups and everything, and trying to figure out the best way to help someone cue their snatch or their warm-up. But the lifestyle, and you're pretty disciplined with nutrition and sleep and being in habits. Where do you think you can help people with that? Because a lot of coaching comes from those side conversations before, during, and after class. Where do you want to help people the most in regard to lifestyle, not just thrusters and pull-ups?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that, I'm people might look at my lifestyle and think it's extreme in the way that I am like super disciplined around my eating. I drink maybe, alcohol maybe like twice a year. I try to sleep. Like I try to go to sleep the exact same time every night if I can.
Mm-hmm.
If I, without the kids' activities, if they get in the way sometimes, but
within reason, yeah.
But it's all, I'm also not like hard on myself if I miss, a day. If something changes, I try to, I'll be like, all right, that's totally fine, and keep moving forward. But I think that I haven't gone through this all. Like if you're trying to change your physique, like I can help you do that. I can help give you tips. If you're doing nutrition coaching and then you need a little extra, like, hey, I can't seem to get this every day. How do you do that? How do you, a lot of that has to do with goals, setting a goal, and then having someone keep you accountable. And that's something that like I would love to help people do if they want someone to just check in with them, be like, hey, how's it going? How'd your eating go today? Did you go this weekend without having a drink? Like stuff like that is not easy at all. And it's
Yep.
taken me years and years and years to be able to kind of get on so kind of disciplined into this. Like that's, I say like it's kind of like a superpower I have, and like a lot of the things I do is like once I get focused on something enough, like that's it. Like I'm locked into it. Which it's maybe it's a little bit of an addictive personality too on that end. Which I'm thankful that I'm doing it in this positive outlet rather than.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's where you provide a lot of value to just the fact that you're a very realistic person. You're a normal guy. Like you have a lot of other things going on that could easily pull you away from what you've done with your fitness and health. And honestly, nobody would really have a right to knock you for it, right? We all know people that you get to a point, you just get overwhelmed with how busy you are that you can't get to the gym, or you can't seem to find the consistent flow of making it the priority. And I've had people tell me in the past that it's hard to relate to people that love the gym. Like it's the only place they want to go to. They want to eat perfect all the time. They look outstanding. And it's like, you know what? I can't even relate to this person because they're not even, in their eyes, living a normal life. Their life revolves around counting macros and planning their food out 6 days ahead of time. I can't get something from that. But I think what you do is that you do things at a high level. But I've been with you outside the gym before. I've seen you as a family man and as a friend and as a fellow bad golfer. And but like you are able to keep things. I hate the word balance sometimes because it gets overused, but you truly are a very balanced person. I think that's something that as they get to know you more, you're not some guy that can do ring muscle ups and walk on his hands and do unbroken toes bar and qualify for all these competitions. That is kind of like a byproduct of who you are outside the gym, in my opinion. And I think how you do anything is how you do everything. Like you kind of embody that. And I hope people pick up on that early on as you start to coach. What are you looking forward to the most? Like we don't have an exact date. I have an idea in my head and Liz has an idea in her head about when you'll be ready to coach. But when that time is right and you are the guy on Thursday mornings, not sleeping through the alarm, what are you looking forward to the most?
Yeah. I'll say that something I've loved throughout all the years is watching people get their firsts, whether it's a first pull up, it's a first, muscle up or, whatever. That's always been such a great experience. And it's usually shared between the athlete and the coach who's been helping them get there, and everybody in the gym cheers and it's really fun. I'm really excited to be able to do, be that person for, as many people as I can. I know not, I think, doing a pull up could be an amazing thing for somebody, and it's
absolutely huge.
So I think that's probably the thing I'm most excited about. It's just helping people get to whatever goal they want to get to. And to get really excited with them about it.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Those are great moments. Like when someone gets a first something or they PR lift, you get to write a PR next to someone, or if you get the first muscle up on camera, that's always fun. What are some things on the other side? What are some things that you have either realized that you're going to need to learn / improve on, or you're just seeing a different angle of the gym now, right? You're at the gym now. Sam's running the classes. I'm there just throwing little nuggets at you about those classes and about the workouts and little things. What are some of the things that you have realized you're going to need to learn / improve on to get to that point of comfort? Like, hey, I'm good here by myself. This is my room while I always tell the coaches, this is your gym while you coach, period. No matter who's there, including owners. It is your gym when your classes are going on. You take ownership of that. So what do you think you need to learn to really be comfortable in that role?
Yeah, I'll say that definitely I had no idea about the time management side of being a coach. That was something that, I was like, I always just felt like, oh, it happens. Like the class flows perfectly every day and I get out on time. It's like, that's totally nobody's thinking about that, but there's a lot of thought that goes into time management. I think that communicating clearly what I'm trying to say in the best way possible. Sometimes I, ramble on, and I need to be able to be more concise in the way I'm trying to educate, I guess.
Yep.
Just being as right now, like being more comfortable with the people I don't know, trying to learn, meet as many people as possible. It's names. There's always been a hard thing for me. And so I'm trying to, memorize everybody's names and make sure even I might know you as a person, and I just we've never actually, spoken of oh, hey, hello, how's it going?
Yeah, the head nod, hey, what's up, bro? What's up, bro?
So I want to be able to get there. And I think if all that kind of comes together, I think that the comfort will get there. The CrossFit of it all, I'm so confident in my ability with that. So I'm really excited to be able to share, learning how to making sure I'm not oversharing, trying to get too much too soon. So as I'm starting to write my warm-ups now, I'm I write all these notes. I'm oh, take that out too much.
What you right now, what you're sending Sam and I, the timestamp stuff, and that is nobody wants to view it that way, but it's especially in the morning, it kind of has to be that way. And the main reason we started the podcast, Sam and I, was that we have so much that we want to share that you can't do it at the whiteboard. Almost to the point where I've even considered myself selfish sometimes for my whiteboard talks, because I think I told you this the other day. They're here to work out. They don't want to hear about your unbroken pull-up story in 2017 in an open workout, even though there is value behind it in relation to what they're about to take on. You can all of a sudden be up there for 8 minutes talking about a workout, and you've lost everyone 4 minutes ago. And I've been there. I'll be there again. So we work with our coaches on that all the time. I time myself to this day. Hey, that's too long. Hey, that's too short. But we know that you have a lot of good to share. But you even noticed the other day, you can start coaching and telling some of these things while they're warming up, while they're stretching. And that's another thing. So you brought up logistics, right? That's a big part of starting off as a coach at a gym like this, and how important it is to be economic with the time. And that, I think you'll be great at that, because the fact that you're already thinking about it and you have people in your ear about it already, it's going to be a huge deal. Lastly, the relationship side, right? And I'll challenge you this. I'll put this on a podcast so people, you might be actually, I will say, members will hold you accountable to this at Bison, especially that 6 a.m. group. But the relationship side of Bison from a coach is very interesting. It's very subjective, and some people won't agree with me, that I truly respect. And I'm all about disagreeing and having good conversations. I think every coach in time, if you want to put a timeline on it, I think in your first 3 months, you generally see the same people if you coach those classes, right? Every night, you should be able to tell me multiple things, more than one, about every person in your class that has nothing to do with CrossFit at some point. And that only comes from you putting a genuine effort into building a relationship. They don't need to be friends. In some cases, that actually is not a good thing. But there needs to be a mutual respect. And the coach is always, yes, it's your gym. You're the most important person in the room. But you're also the servant of the room. You're the one that's supposed to ask them how they're doing. You're the one that's supposed to say hi to them, not be that person that always waits for others to say hi to you. You have a great level of humility, in my opinion. It's one of my favorite things about you. You're confident, but you're humble. And to me, have you put any thought into that yet? And be real about it. I've been putting thought into it for a long time. That relationship side of things is what can make a good coach great. But what can also prevent a good coach from getting to that great level is that they don't put enough into that. Any thoughts on there?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's something over my experience over the years has helped me. The closer I got to a coach in comfort, in friendship, and just the respect side of that, the more I was willing to go to that coach and say hey, I'm struggling with this, or can you help me out with that? There's a more there's more trust there, right? The more stronger of a relationship you have, if I can go up to you and you know, I'm coming up to you and asking you, how you're doing, finding out more information. I think that I am thinking about it. I'm trying not to be forceful with it at this point, as I'm still trying to learn, a lot of the 5 a.m. people I'm meeting for the first time, at the 6 a.m.ers, I've, come, as I'm coming in, they're coming out, and I've had conversations over time, and my, 7 a.m. crew, I know everybody. I could tell you right now, probably, 3 things about everybody in the 7 a.m. crew.
You should,
so I think that just kind of building that in, like I like, it's funny, I'm generally an introverted person, but in that atmosphere, I'm much more outgoing. I'm more comfortable, I guess. So I'm happy to have conversations with people, and sometimes it runs in to the next. It's like, oh, I gotta go. But I'm looking forward to it. It's something that that's definitely gonna be a challenge for me. Just to it's a lot of people. Bison has so many people, so many members. And those early morning classes are packed. So I kind of taking on as a challenge right now, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. And so that's my challenge number 1, and I'll wrap this up with challenge number 2, and then we could wrap this up. That challenge number 2 to me is I want all CrossFit coaches to look at coaching from this perspective at some point. It doesn't have to be every time. But I think coaching should make you a better athlete. I think you're going to see and learn things from the coaching perspective that you are mindful and experienced enough that you're going to be able to apply to yourself as an athlete. I can't tell you how many times watching and coaching and looking at it, shocker, from a different perspective, how much better that makes you overall. And even in some ways, how we bring up Rafi and his mindfulness practice, like how grateful, how much gratitude can actually make you obviously much more enjoyable person to be around, but just a better person overall, a better athlete, a better coach. How you can blend this side of it, right? The person in charge of the room, the person helping others, how that's going to actually tangibly help you as an athlete. I want you to really try to find some elements of coaching that are going to be able to. It could be someone's lifting technique. It could be someone's strategy. It could be how people operate on days they don't do well. Like I've learned how to act. I mean, I think you have taught me a lot, Dan, over the years about how to act at the gym and how that can help the room. It can help yourself. Because if I feel like if you have a room full of people that are kind of truly there for each other as much as they are there for themselves, all of you are getting better. No question about it. And none of us have gotten here by ourselves. There's not one person that could say, oh yeah, I did this all by myself. None of you did. I didn't. And when you start thinking about it from that perspective, I really do think this can actually help you. And you have some very ambitious athlete goals that I absolutely love being around, that I actually think this is going to help you get to that level.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm so excited. Like definitely my goals definitely haven't changed, and I've learned to manage my schedule better now, I think. And I'm constantly seeing improvement, and I can't wait. Last year in the age group. So
I know this is the nice relaxed year for you, but I mean, and if I hear you say one time on a Friday morning that you had a bad workout because you coached yesterday, I'm gonna come after you a little bit, because coaches, suck it up, figure it out. I know a lot of good coaches that they have tougher schedules than most people. Some of that work full-time and part-time, and they get it done. And I think what you tell yourself, you can manifest that to be the truth. Good and bad. So, and I really think that's something that you're going to help a lot of people out with your talks and your piece of advice. But honestly, dude, just who you are. So be who you are as a coach. You're going to be awesome. We're really glad to have you on the staff. If you're listening to this, you're going to be coached by Dan. Consider yourself privileged and lucky, because he's going to help you guys out a lot.
I really appreciate that.
All right, Dan, we will see you this week, and go Giants.
Go Giants.
Thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of your day to listen to the Herd Fit podcast. be on the lookout for next week's episode.